truly horrific, so I do have to warn you before we get into it. So I do not mean to disrespect any of the friends or family involved in this case. I'm basically just doing a lot of research and then putting it all together in an educational video for you guys. So news broke out last week that somebody had been found guilty of the Alister McPhail murder. The killer, who faces detention without limit of time, will be sentenced on March 21st in 2019. He initially could not be named to the media as he was under 18, but on February 23rd, 2019, today of recording this video, news came out that Aaron Campbell, the 16-year-old, had been found guilty of murdering Alister McPhail, and his name was finally put out there to the public. So here's a little bit of background to this whole case. 6-year-old Alister McPhail, who enjoyed dancing and singing and who one day hoped to become a massive internet star, was visiting her grandma in Rotherham View. After her mother and father had separated, Alister would often visit her grandparents' house where her father, Robert McPhail, lived with his girlfriend, and she'd regularly go every other weekend and then in school holidays go for a certain amount of time as well, which she was doing in this occasion. She loved playing on the beach there and also going swimming in the sea.
Hey guys, it's Sunshine. Today I'm going to show you all about pasta.
This was just days into a 3-week break she had planned at her grandmother's house during the school summer holidays. Before going to bed, she gave her grandfather a hug goodnight and then was tucked in by her father Robert, who then said to her, "Night, and then I'll see you in the morning." Alicia's father Robert McPhail, aged 26, and his girlfriend Tony McLaughlin, aged 18, both lived at the same house with with Alicia's grandparents and his mother and father. In the middle of the night on July 1st, 2018, Alister was actually snatched from her bed where she was asleep. This took place between midnight and the early hours of the morning. When the morning came and it was discovered that Alister actually wasn't in her bed where she'd been left by her father, it was then reported to the police that she was missing, and a frantic search began to try and find this little girl. The whole community gathered together and did as much as they could to help try and find this missing girl. News then spread all over social media about a missing 6-year-old girl. Georgina, Alicia's mother, was monitoring the events that was taking place 50 miles away through Facebook. She then posted to Facebook, "Someone tell me what's going on, because that's my daughter in the picture." And this must have been truly heartbreaking to find out that your daughter was actually missing through a Facebook post. By the time Georgina had actually posted this, news broke out that Alicia's body had actually been found and she was pronounced dead at the scene. This was around 3 hours after Alister was actually initially reported missing, and her body was actually discovered at the derelict grounds of a hotel, and her clothes were discarded nearby. Now, the horrific events that took place on that night in July started off with Aaron Campbell leaving a party and being quite intoxicated. He then armed himself with one of his mother's kitchen knives, one of the largest ones she had, and headed out. Campbell then gained access to the flat where Alister was staying, as the key was actually left in the door. This is due to the whole island being relatively crime-free, and everyone kind of felt safe where they were, so this was a regular thing. And a lot of people did actually leave the doors open in this town because people felt it was such a safe place to live. He then climbed the stairs to the flat where Alister was staying and let himself into the home. He then walked through the flat, past where Alicia's family were all sleeping, to Alicia's bedroom, and walked straight in to where she was sleeping in a bed. He then grabbed Alicia and carried her half a mile to a woodland clearing up some block steps. When Campbell got to the top of the clearing, he then proceeded to rape and murder 6-year-old Alister McPhail. He then smothered her, leaving her with bruises and stab wounds. Alicia sustained a total of 117 injuries before being dumped in the woods by this monstrous killer, who then returned home. The cause of death was said to have been significant pressure to the face and neck, which was heard in a high court in Glasgow. Aaron Campbell, the 16-year-old teenager, was then reported to police by his mother, who noticed some suspicious activity from him in the early hours of the morning on their CCTV camera. She saw him leaving the house and then coming back and then going out again, and it obviously looked quite suspicious. And news about this, she felt like it was something to do with it, which is quite unfortunate and quite sad, really. The police were able to identify that his DNA evidence was actually all over Alicia's body. It was also later found by investigators that DNA evidence was on some joggers and boxer shorts which had been left by him, which were discovered on the beach. There was also a knife that was left on the beach with his DNA evidence on it as well. Campbell initially denied the crime, so there was no admission or any explanation as to why he committed the brutal murder of a 6-year-old child. It was later announced in court that social media conversations were exchanged with his friends. In one of these conversations, it was said that Campbell had mentioned that one day he may kill just for the life experience. He first initially tried to put the blame on Tony McLaughlin, which is Alicia's father's girlfriend, saying that he was having some sort of affair with her and that she'd planted his DNA evidence on Alicia's body to make it look like he'd done it, basically framing him. But the CCTV footage of Campbell leaving his house and then the social media comments made it more and more likely to point towards him. He then also sent a Snapchat video to friends of his top portion of his body saying, "Found the guy who's done it." The trial heard that Alicia's father, Robert MacPhail, had actually sold Campbell some cannabis and they had actually fallen out over a £10 debt. Robert MacPhail had actually had several missed calls from the killer the night before his daughter was abducted. Internet searches were also found on Campbell's phone several hours after the murder, saying, "How did police find DNA?" He faces life in jail for the murder of Alicia MacPhail on the Scottish island of Bute and being held in Polmont Young Offenders Institute near Falkirk. As he has been named, more information has actually come out saying that he has been heavily guarded in prison, as insiders do actually reveal that he'll be a marked man till the day he dies. It's said that in prison, a lot of criminals will find that murder, rape, or any sort of harm towards a young child deserves a punishment, no matter how severe the crime that they've committed themselves is, and will always make the person who's done something to a child pay for it. It's said that inmates at the prison are absolutely sickened by what this person has done to Alicia, and there is the chance to have a name for yourself if you are the one that does something to this guy. It's said that it is actually a waiting game and someone will get him. It is said that he is being obviously watched and protected, but there will be a time when he's on his own, and that's when it'll happen, because people are quite inventive and cunning in these types of environment when it comes to things like that. And the moment that he is on his own for however many seconds or minutes or whatever, someone will attack him. He's also being monitored at the moment just in case he does self-harm. It was also said by Defence QC Brian McConaughey, I think that's how you say it, who told a High Court in Glasgow that he had received information that there was a price on Aaron Campbell's head. Campbell is due to return to court to be sentenced on the 21st of March 2019, and if you follow my Twitter, it's @LukeMorris, another S on the end and then an underscore. I'll leave it also in the description below. I will, at that time, be retweeting and posting any live tweets whilst this is going on, so if you want to see any information about that, then please do follow me on there. Now for some more information about Campbell's sadistic nature. Campbell supposedly got sick thrills from playing quite violent and really gory video games, and officers found evidence from online searches of Slenderman on Campbell's computer before abducting and killing Alicia MacPhail. The Slenderman is a child-catching suited creature with gangly arms and legs who drags kids into the woodland. Eric Victor Serge Knudsen submitted an image of the fictional character to an online forum called Something Awful. His creation soon went viral as fan arts and reams of online fiction soon followed. The creepy stories are usually centered around him stalking, abducting, or traumatizing people. In 2014, 2 teenagers were inspired to kill a classmate because they believed the Slenderman was real. Anissa Weir and Morgan Gazer, both aged 17 now, held down and stabbed their classmate Peyton Lutner in 2014 after luring her into the woods in Wisconsin, US. She was knifed 19 times and just left for dead. She survived the attack and managed to crawl out of the woodlands where she was found by a cyclist with stab wounds to her chest, abdomen and arms. Weir and Geyser were actually found walking back into the woods after the attack had taken place in the hope of meeting the Slenderman. After these Slenderman searches were found on Aaron Campbell's computer, it was said that some of the circumstances of what this character does and what had actually happened to Alicia's body were basically carbon copies of each other. As I say, the Slenderman was invented in 2009 from forum users for a paranormal Photoshop competition, but then obviously fans were coming up with their own stories of what they think this person did. The tall, thin, featureless man dressed in a black suit kidnaps and kills children, often dragging them into the woods. Alicia's killer, as I mentioned before, did YouTube videos, and he kind of portrayed this bloodlust when he was playing these video games and putting them on his YouTube channel. In a video found by police on Campbell's YouTube channel, he brags about sneaking into a family home in the dead of the night. And this kind of relates obviously to what happened in Alicia McPhail's case, where he snuck into her house in the middle of the night and abducted her and then murdered her. And then in another video he's heard shrieking, "This is hell, no, 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 stop, stop, help, 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 that is Slenderman right there." So there is like connections to Slenderman and Aaron Campbell in this case. So this does actually bring us to the end of this truly horrific and just awful crime that's been committed. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and thanks if you made it this far. Please